Hey everyone, and welcome to the Real Life Show. We're back for another episode, and today we have the lovely Rachel Baker.
Yay!
Welcome, Rachel. Welcome to the Backyard Cafe.
Yes.
It's lovely in here, isn't it? Today we've got a new table.
Very nice.
New table to the cafe. We're on a bench.
Yeah. And we've got lovely cushions.
Yeah.
It's a lovely cushion.
So I'm going to let you into a little secret. I always have this cushion.
Oh.
I have always had this cushion. There's just because we normally have more guests, don't get the nicer cushions.
Oh, wow.
But it's very nice. It's springy, isn't it? So Rach is on like three like square
What's
ones.
Rach got? A square
Rach's
one?
got three square ones.
Are you
or
happy
two.
with those, Rach?
I've got one.
Oh.
No, there's two. It's like just yeah.
Oh,
Extra
wow.
comfort for you.
Yeah, thank you.
But thank you, Andrea and Backyard Cafe, for
Yes,
having us
thank
as
you.
usual. We love this venue.
We do.
How
We
are you,
do.
Rachel? Are you good?
I'm okay, thank you.
Yes,
yeah.
welcome.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about yourself, and tell us maybe where people might know you from in church, and maybe just how's your week been?
Right, okay. So I'm Rachel Baker, aren't
Yes.
I? I have two daughters.
Yes, you do.
I've actually had 3 babies.
Oh,
And
okay.
I've got 2 daughters.
Yeah.
And my husband is called Steve.
Yay.
They're all on the worship team.
They
You will
are.
see Steve playing the guitar and singing, and the girl singing. Luce plays the guitar. I've been going to Arise, that was Calvary Church, for 30 years this month.
Whoa.
So a long time.
Yeah,
And I love it. And I work for church as well.
you do. Yes,
Yeah.
we'll get onto that a little bit later on.
Yeah.
And have done for quite a few years. Yeah.
Yes, and you work alongside 2 wonderful, wonderful people,
I do,
don't you?
I do. Who are very distracting.
Don't out us like that, Rach.
That's
Don't out
not
us
me.
like that.
That's
No,
not
it's
me.
not.
She's talking about someone else.
I don't think it's me either.
It's definitely you.
Is it me?
Yeah.
I think it might be another Rachel.
Oh, yeah, that's
Um,
true.
on staff. You had a good week? Good week so
yes,
far?
so far it's been all right, yeah.
Even
Yeah.
better now that you're with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a real live show watcher?
I am.
Favourite guest?
Oh.
I've got 2, actually.
Go on.
Okay.
Were they together or 2 separate
No,
episodes?
2
Oh, nice. I
separate
like that.
episodes. I loved Joe's,
Yes.
Yeah.
Joe Cox, and I always get this mixed. Aaron
Costigan.
Yes.
Yes. Great
I
episode.
enjoyed that, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've got great variety, haven't we,
Yeah.
with our
Yes, we
guests?
have. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I
Yeah.
Jo as well, when we asked her if she watches, she listens.
Jo was
on-
our last one, wasn't
Yeah, on
she?
Times. Was
Yeah.
it Times 2?
Oh, yeah, some crazy speed.
What's that about?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Have you ever listened on Times 2 or 3?
There's no need, is there?
There's no need. There's no need.
I have to slow it down.
Yeah,
Or
I'd
like
the
keep
0.5.
pausing,
Yeah.
like 45.
Well,
What
Jo
did I
does-
say again?
She does a lot, doesn't she, Joe? So she's
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
fit it
We
all
learned
in.
about that in the last episode.
Yes.
Check
We
it out.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Bro, should we get into
So
it?
then, Rach, we always start here. We want to know the story of when you said yes to Jesus.
Right. Well, I don't have a big story of, I had a revelation when I don't have a date. I've always loved Jesus. That's my thing. So I was, my mum and dad were Christians, and so I went to church right from being born. Really,
Wow.
Wow.
that was.
So you
That
don't
was
know
me.
any different?
I don't really know anything different now.
Was there a moment that you can recall, like where it became your faith, not parents' faith?
Well, yes and no. So I remember going to a camp. It's a place called Bonsall in Matlock, and I remember going and I came out and I'd said yes to Jesus.
Oh, okay.
And my mum questioned me, or I was questioned, and I knew what I'd said yes
Yeah.
to. I've had a little chat with my mum about this actually,
Wow.
because we went to a little church in Albury. I was born in Albury,
Wow.
so I lived in Albury until I was about 10. So we went to a little church in Albury, a Pentecostal church, and then a bit later on, we went to another church as well. I think it was as well.
Okay.
But the one that I was born into was a little church, and so my memory of that is, I have a memory of being in church, being in the chair, sitting next to my dad, playing with my dad's hand, and he was a carpenter and he got all these cuts on his hands, and I remember looking at his hands. I remember a man praying, standing up and praying for a very long time. It seemed a very long time. I was only little. I was about 5, and 4 or 5, and so that was my memory of church. And I remember Sunday school, and I remember someone like talking about Jesus and stories in the Bible, and they had these fuzzy felt boards. I don't know if anyone knows what fuzzy felt boards are anymore. Yeah. It's like a board with felt on, and then you have all these figures and animals, and
they like stick,
and they stick on it.
Yes,
and so someone would tell a story and put these things on these
using
shapes.
a felt board.
Yes, wow. on the fuzzy felts. So I remember that. So when I was talking to my mum about it, she said that I didn't actually go to the church service in the morning until I was older.
Okay.
My dad would go, and then he would come and pick us up, and he would take us back to church because they did Sunday school after church. Mm-hmm. So my memory of church, where if I think about it, I remember feeling safe.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
That's what I thought.
Wow.
I remember feeling safe. But my mum said that I only went once, and it was because I was poorly. And I've been poor. I was a bit of a sickly child, apparently.
Well, yeah.
And they took me to church to have me prayed for and anointed with oil.
Wow.
And that is my memory. That's what I remember.
Wow.
That's what I thought, actually. So something that I thought that's what I did.
Yeah.
It was a familiar building because I did go in, but that particular Sunday, that particular day when I went, it was when I was little, and I went to be prayed for, and Mum said that I was better after that.
Wow. Amazing.
So, yeah.
But you always went to the Sunday school?
Yes.
That was...
Yeah.
So what was that? Because I wasn't brought up in church or didn't go to Sunday school. So, like, what was that? Would your parents drop you off?
No. I don't know. I don't know. We would be there. I know.
Okay.
It would be like parents would be in the church service.
Yes, I don't think they would have gone home.
I
can't
right,
see that
okay.
No, they weren't in the church service. It was after the church service.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I'm assuming that they were there. I don't recollect that.
Wow.
But,
Interesting.
But that was fun. You enjoyed that.
Yeah. So I think church I felt safe.
Yeah.
So I thought God was safe.
Yeah.
So you were in church feeling safe. Outside of church, then, what was childhood like? Tell us about your sisters.
I've got.
I know you. I just said siblings, but no, you've got sisters.
I've got 3. I've got 3 sisters. Yes, I've got 3. My youngest one is 10 years younger than me, so we spread out over 10 years.
You're the oldest.
I am the oldest. Yeah. So at that time, my memories of being there, I only had one sister. At that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell us about your childhood away from church then.
Away from church?
Yeah, so you said you felt safe from church. Was that because away from church you didn't feel so safe?
Oh. No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't know what that. I don't know why, but I just know that was a feeling that I had. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So, like, church as a teenager then. So you went to the church in Albury, but you only went there once in the Sunday school.
And the Sunday school. Well, no, I must have gone there more afterwards when I was older, but that was my memory.
So then you moved.
Little. Then we moved house. We moved from Albury to Wolverhampton. My mum and dad had some trouble in their marriage. My dad left for a little while and he came back, and then we moved house. I think that was difficult because I moved away from my cousins who I spent a lot of time with and church, and we had to find somewhere else. So my mum was intent on finding us a church that had got a Sunday school in.
Oh, yeah.
So there were a couple of churches within walking distance from our house. And my mum, she found one that she liked, that was a Church of England church. So the church we went to in Albury was Pentecostal, and it was lively enough for it to be okay for my mum, but it didn't have a Sunday school. So my mum took us to a Methodist church. So we went to Sunday school. We went to church at the Methodist church, and we went to Sunday school there, and that's where my teenage years up until I was about 25.
Okay.
Yeah, I went there, and that's where I met Steve. So I remember having a revelation of God or recommitment. There's
Yeah.
So I went, and we went to Sunday school. It was quite. I think it was a Methodist church, which is very traditional and not what I'd been used to. And I think that I grew up thinking there was something that I was missing for me. Not for the people that went, because you like that style, don't you? That's why. You know. But there was. I felt like there was something missing. But I went, and then I was a Sunday school teacher. I helped when I was 16.
Oh, wow.
And then within a couple of months, the Sunday school teacher left and I was a Sunday school teacher by myself, which
No
was very
way.
difficult. It was really difficult.
How old were you then?
16.
Oh, whoa.
With little kids, it was the little ones. It was, but the start of my journey with working with kids, because that, for God, because that's what I did.
Yeah.
So I was dating Steve. I started dating Steve when I was 16, and so we just went on with
Steve
life in church.
Did you meet him at the church?
Yes, I met Steve in church because he went there all of his life. That was his home church and his family church. And then when I was we got married. Like, I was only 20 when I got married, and then. When I was almost 22, when I was about 20, my mum and my dad split up again. And when I was about 22, my dad actually committed suicide. And the following summer, the Methodist Church had something, it was called the Cliff College, which is, I don't know if it exists anymore, is the evangelical side of the Methodist Church.
Okay.
And they went for an outreach weekend. And so they did some fun stuff with the teenagers and with the kids, whoever was there. And I remember going for a walk, and this walk took us, and we were with the people that had come and chatting. There were lots of people there. And I remember the path took us the back of the cemetery where my dad was, and I remember feeling like overwhelmed and quite upset. I might have spoken to one of them about it. And then on the evening, they had an outreach service where they preached the gospel and I did an altar call. And I remember sitting in my seat and feeling this need to go to the front. But I guess I kind of had a little argument with God, because I was saying, I don't need to go, God. I don't need to go. Because I've already given my life to you and I don't need to go. But I felt very much like it was something that I had to do.
Yeah.
To lead the way a little bit, because no one else was going. So I went to the front, and I think that was the moment when I was older, where I thought I need God.
Yeah.
Like this trauma, this drama. I mean, the whole thing with my mum and dad, and then dad committed suicide. It was it was full of drama.
Yeah.
And I needed God in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that stayed with me.
Yeah.
Stayed with me always.
Since then.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was like quite early on in your marriage as well, wasn't it? So you were married at 20.
Yeah.
This
22.
was
22, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like, how did you navigate all of that? Like, obviously what happened with your dad, getting married is a big thing, isn't it? Like, how did you navigate that, like, with your faith and with God? Like,
I have obviously I've been thinking about this a little bit. I'm not quite sure whether I was particularly full on with God then.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of trying, but maybe not quite getting there. I think maybe I felt like there was something missing a little bit.
Yeah.
Because then a bit later on, after the Cliff College came and sort of shook everything up in the church, then they wanted to sing not better songs. I'll scrap that. They wanted to sing some more lively songs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But no one really wanted to do it. In the end, it was difficult. You have to. There's lots of committees that we had to form a committee, and in the end, it was hard work.
Okay.
And so Steve and I then decided that we were going to look elsewhere.
Okay.
So we went to a few other churches of an evening, and then we went to a Rise.
Oh, so that's how
Yeah,
you came to
yeah,
come to
yeah.
Calvary.
Because Steve worked with someone who was part of the church when the church was built. When they
Oh,
went from the school to
wow.
the
Yeah,
building
yeah.
that we're in now.
Yeah.
He was part of that, and he'd been talking to Steve about it, and so he said, I think we should go and have a look.
Wow.
Let me just jump in. Steve, wonderful man.
Oh, isn't
We
he?
love him very, very much.
We do.
I often look at you and Steve and think, what a beautiful, beautiful marriage.
Marriage
And
goals.
Yeah, marriage goals, and it's evident how much you adore and love each other.
Yeah.
And like I'm hearing like at 20 and then 22, this massive things happens in life, and then we'll get on to some other stuff. But talk to us about like those early years of marriage coming into obviously you moving church. Like how did Steve come beside you in those moments and deal with those or navigate those as well?
Well, we were in it together, and I
Yeah.
think that's the thing about me and Steve is that we're a team. And when we first got married, and you know all that happened, like Steve had to be, he was part of it, wasn't he? But he'd been part of my life for a long time. We've been dating for a long time. So he was part of it and understood it and like loved my family, and he had to put up with me going through. It's a little bit like that, I guess.
Steve wouldn't say put up, he would have said
No.
it was a like
Yeah,
an honour,
yeah,
wouldn't he?
Yeah,
Wouldn't
it
he?
was, yes. So we're a team. So
Yeah.
we made the decision to move or to look for something else together.
Yeah.
And then when we went to Arise then, or Calvary, then we had Kate. I was pregnant with Kate then. So then
When
it
you
came-
moved.
When we moved, I was pregnant, and then. But I think we were coming on the night and still going to the Methodist church, and then we had to reach we got to the point where we got to decide whether we're going to have a christened at the Methodist church,
Yeah.
or whether we're going to have dedicated at Calvary.
Ooh.
And so something else about Steve and I'm very aware he's quite quiet. And I'm quite loud, which you find a lot in relationships, don't you? So I think sometimes that people could think that Steve's a little bit under the thumb, or that I wear the trousers, but that isn't the case actually. And so because I knew that the Methodist Church was important to him,
Yeah.
because it was his home church, I said you've got to make the decision. And
Yeah.
like I respect
That's
Steve,
great.
I've always respected
Yeah.
Steve, and so he made the decision to go. So he had to go and have a chat with his mum and dad and,
Did he?
and tell him and tell them about
Wow.
it. And so we went. That's when
Oh.
we went. But we're a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And have you got like a top tip maybe for
Yeah,
a
come on,
healthy,
Rach.
godly, faith-filled marriage?
How to sustain it.
Yeah.
'Cause it's easy at the start, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sustaining it. Give us a top tip.
My top tip about being married is remember that you are in love with the person. I remind myself that a lot. That
Yeah.
I don't just love him, but I am in love with him.
Yeah.
And we've been married for 35 years this year.
Oh,
And
that's so good.
And I've tried to keep that always,
Yeah.
in my heart and in my forefront of my focus. Is
Yeah.
that I am in love with him and I like him. So
It helps, doesn't it?
don't say what you want to say, because it's not going to be good. So keep your
Yeah.
mouth shut, Rachel, because I
Yeah.
can sometimes be a little bit. But Steve has calmed me down. I've brought him out of himself, and
Brilliant.
he's calmed me down.
What a
we
team.
yes, we are a team. Team Baker.
Love that.
And we
Team
we have
Baker.
been.
I love that.
Yeah, and we that's what we're saying.
And it's a
we're Team
force to be
Baker.
I
reckoned
like
with.
that. It is.
It is a force to be reckoned
Yeah,
with.
It
isn't
is. Before we move on, you said about like making the decision to move church, and obviously, like you gave that decision over to Steve. Really, like what do you do when your decisions don't come into line? I'm just riding off the
Yeah.
married advice
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
What do you do then, or how have you dealt with that, like in the past?
Good question.
You have to communicate. You just have to
Yeah.
talk, don't you? I think
Yeah.
that's which being married to Steve, who doesn't talk very much,
Yeah.
can sometimes be a little tricky. But he will talk to me.
Yeah.
Do you have to tease it out of him?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. And that's how you navigate it by communicating, don't you, and working out what's going on and what your differences are, and working with that.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's great, Rach. Thank
Very
you. So you've got 2 lovely girls.
I have.
So talk to us about parenting kids, bringing them up in church. Like obviously you said you've moved. So you were, when Kate was born, you were at Calvary, which from what I've heard was just fantastic for kids and family.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that journey, Rach. Like what was that like? Not only were you moving church, like you got a new baby.
You led Treasure Seekers, was it back in the day? Did you guys lead that?
Yeah. When Lucy was, Kate was older, and then when Lucy, we did it for a long time.
Some people will hear Treasure Seekers and go,
Is it?
nostalgia.
Yeah. Calvary Kids was our thing. We did the
back in the day,
Calvary Kids. One thing that I do want to say about when we first started going to Calvary was we went in the morning, and Paul. It was when Paul Chamberlain was leading. I love Paul. He was in charge. He was the pastor, and his mom was there, like an elderly lady. And during the worship time, I remember she gave a prophetic word, and there was a bit in me, something started to go on in me, and my thought was, I don't know what that is, but I know it's God, and I want some of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was my thought. So going to church with young children, like there was no Sunday school, there was no no
kids provision.
No kids provision. No. Until after church, it was after church, so we would take like little snacks for them to eat in boxes and quiet toys.
Bribes.
Quiet toys.
Yeah. But it was important for us to expose them to church and expose them to Jesus. Like I love Jesus.
Yeah.
Sounds very simple saying that actually, but that's how I felt when I was 5.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel now.
That's great.
How I've always felt.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted my girls to experience that as well. It's not always easy when you've got young children in church and you want them to be quiet. But like I remember, holding them during worship time and then copying us raising our hands. There's something very special about that, isn't there, when that happens. So it's that's it's just about exposing them and giving them the opportunity to hear about God.
How important is, and I'm asking this because 3 out of the 4 of you are in the worship team, and I know, Rachel, that you can hold the tune yourself. I am aware of that. So you were talking about when you were holding them and they were like copying you. How important was worship for you as a family back then? Because obviously it's literally in the whole family. When the Bakers, when they say grace, they don't say it, they sing it.
Oh, do you?
We do.
I love
and if you
that
ever get
so
to experience it, it's just absolutely wonderful. So everyone invite yourself around the Bakers for tea, because you'll experience something lovely.
Which, let me tell you, that was a shock to Matt, and it was a shock to Sean.
When
As
they
we
came in.
when we start singing, all this grateful, Lord, you're grateful.
Oh, I love that.
So how important,
Is worship.
Is the worship, and like those moments that when you're telling a story, they're the moments that you like quickly just mention because it was wonderful. But actually, like how amazing that was, like the start of their
We
ministry.
always loved worship.
Yeah.
We had worship music playing all the time. Because we were part of the kids team, like we would listen, and Steve we played the guitar, and so we would sing songs with the children. So we would listen to I'd have tapes. It was in the days with tapes with kids' Christian songs on that had got like rhymes and things. So it was and they would listen to that and they would sing that. And I wanted them to enjoy worship.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
I love the fact that they are in the worship team.
Yeah.
Like it
I
feels,
do. I love the fact that they are. As well.
it fills me with a lot of joy. And sometimes I have to stop myself being a little groupie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just looking at them.
I don't
Yeah.
blame you.
I have to pull myself out of it and engage in worship, Rachel.
Yeah, and you brought up two. I'm talking specifically about Kate and Lucy now. Like
Yeah.
two wonderful worshippers as well. Like only this week have I had messages from both of them with like songs that they love and
really?
and like, oh Josh, have you heard this? Like how wonderful would this be? Like I can hear us singing this and worshipping this.
Yeah.
And that's exactly who they are, and that's
Yeah.
exactly who you brought up.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
people who love worship songs, and
Yeah.
they're constantly, I know, constantly listening to the new thing that's coming out
Yeah.
and how fresh worship is. But also, I know they also love the old stuff as well.
Yeah.
And getting a chance to worship to that. But they are two wonderful, wonderful members. And
Yeah.
Steve is obviously a wonderful
Yeah,
member
yeah.
who
Yeah.
I love worshipping with.
Yeah, it's
so, yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So 30 years at Calvary / Arise. Obviously, like you saw the transition as
Yeah.
well. Like, what are your standout moments at church? Like with God, like God encounters. What have been your standouts?
I think that I've had a lot of healing
Yeah,
in church. And sometimes that's difficult because it means that things need to come up to the surface, don't they?
yeah,
So that's difficult, but I have received a lot of healing.
yeah,
And I'm always after a bit more because there's always
Yeah.
something that's going on in my head or my heart, you know. But I chase after God to
yeah,
bring me whatever it is that I need to heal my heart, really. So
Yeah.
that's I guess that's one of my experiences of being part of Arise Church.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You said at the start as well, and you can share this if you're willing to. That you haven't just had 2 children; you had 3.
Yeah.
And when in the timeline did that experience come around?
So that was in between Lucy and Kate.
Okay. So were you at
Kate and
Calvary?
Lucy. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I was. And I had a lot of support actually.
yeah,
There's a lot of support, and that was another tricky, traumatic
yeah,
Yeah.
time that Steve and I shared again.
yeah,
We shared that, and we needed each other because it's not something that anyone else really had experienced, had they? So it's but so we had a boy. He was born premature, and he didn't survive. But we did have a lot of support from people at church,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
our friends at church, and that was really good. So we called him Daniel, and so he's part of our family.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Kate knows about him, and Lucy knows about him. So he's not forgotten. He's
Yeah.
part of our family. But more healing,
Yeah.
yeah,
more healing
Yeah.
that I needed.
yeah,
What so
of course.
I mean, when you go through something like that, and I think some people were watching thinking like, if I went through something like that, like I think I'd run away from church. I think I'd distance myself because
Yeah.
I need time to heal
Yeah,
elsewhere.
Yeah.
What about church and what about the people?
yeah.
Why was that your default maybe to, or even if it was your default? Well, why was that the place you went to?
I mean, I did struggle, and I was very angry with God
Yeah,
for
Yeah.
quite a while. I just could not understand it. And I don't know, like it's not anything that I understand. So I was very angry with God, but I reached the point where I need to either move away or go further towards
Step
God.
in. Yeah.
So that was my choice. That was my choice, and it was the best choice because I needed God.
yeah,
I needed Him.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what did that look like stepping in? What was that? Was that being in church more? Was
Yes,
that being around
yeah.
people of
Being in church.
faith?
Yeah, being in church and worshipping because
Yeah.
that's where I get I get built up. I think in worship.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I was friends with people that I would pray with, and
Yeah.
yeah.
What was so you said, you just going back a couple of sentences. I don't understand it, and I was angry with God, and maybe you still don't understand it. Like again, like some people go like, if I don't understand it, it's like I'm not going to believe in it, or I'm not going to carry on in this place, because if I don't understand, like constantly, that's a moment where your brain is just trying to understand constantly, isn't it? How have you got to a point of maybe a bit of peace with it?
Maybe it goes back to the beginning.
Wow.
Maybe my experience in church where I felt safe, and
Yeah.
where I knew that I loved Jesus.
Yeah.
And maybe I didn't have like the full, like, you know, in my head what it was all about. I knew that I loved Jesus, and so I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's why I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I didn't go anywhere, because it's about my experience with God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about knowing that He's being close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's I guess there an experience that you can have with God, and you can think to yourself, have I made that up?
Yeah.
Have I made that up?
It's true.
But you can't make up an experience
No.
when your heart feels full after it's been empty, when you feel full of hope where there's
Yeah.
been hopelessness. You can't make that up, can
No.
you? If you ask God to do something and then you experience that, then that's because that was God, and
Yeah.
you know, and I trust God.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
trust Him, and I feel safe.
Yeah.
So that's how I've always felt. So with
Yeah.
my dad, and with losing Daniel, and every other, you know, trial that you go through.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like that's always been my thing.
Mm-hmm.
That I love Jesus,
Yeah.
Yeah. And you feel safe
and I feel
with him.
safe with Him. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so beautiful, Rach. I think if you know, for people who are watching, like if you can, Rach, like how can you like describe what that feels like? And I don't know if you can, because sometimes you just know, like you just said,
Yeah.
I can't make that up.
No.
And I have that conversation in my head often, like I can't make that up because I've not felt that anywhere else, or I've not experienced that anywhere else. That can only
Yes.
be God.
Yeah.
But like for people who are watching, who are like maybe a little bit curious or a bit confused, like can you describe that in any way? Like how do you know that the safe thing,
Yeah.
that is God? Is it like how long it's lasted, or like in that moment, like I know it's God?
I've had lots of moments. I guess so. It is a difficult one to explain.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Very difficult. But I just you just know. I think
Yeah.
you just know. And like if God speaks to you, my explanation of that is that, like, I know it's God because I can interrupt it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really
Wow.
good.
I can argue.
That
with
is
it,
great.
Wow.
And then I stop, and then something else kind of hits my heart, and
Yeah.
okay, well that's not me, is it? Like
Wow.
I can't unless I'm going mad. But I don't think I am. I don't think I am.
Wow.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That is great. I can interrupt it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it ever come back to us as well? Like people who, when they say they've had like a word or something, or a prophetic word, they like it almost gets confirmed a couple of times. Like I know in my experience, whenever I've ever had something like, and like when you say like I ignore it, or I come in the way, it comes back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It comes back in a
Yeah,
different
that's
way, or
true.
through
Yeah.
someone else,
Yeah.
and you go, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
that I forgot about that, or I chose not to listen to that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so you end up going, okay, like I'll listen now.
Yeah.
And that's obviously what you were
Yeah.
just alluding to, really,
Yeah.
wasn't it? It's one of those. You as well, Rach. Like you are in our church, I would say as well, and we've experienced the past prophetically. You've got the gift of prophecy.
Yeah.
What tell people listening what that is, and maybe like how you experience it in yourself, because sometimes people who haven't experienced it, or people who have given a prophetic word or received one, sometimes we can't even explain what
Yeah.
that
Sure.
looks
Yeah.
like or experience
Yeah.
like. But just if you can,
I think a prophetic word is something that God gives you for the benefit of somebody else. It's to do with encouragement from God.
Yeah.
And I'm all for encouragement.
Yeah.
So that's what I pray, that God will give me something that will
Yeah.
encourage somebody. And this stems from that first moment when Mrs. Chamberlain
yeah,
is
Yeah, that word.
prophesying, and I don't know what that is, but I know that's God, and I want that. And I think maybe God, not everyone wants to do it, so I think maybe God at that moment placed something in my heart
Wow.
Yeah.
that this was something that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I have a prophetic word, it is. I might have a word. I might have a picture in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always have, because I'm not very brave at just speaking out and let's see what God's got to say about that. I ask God a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And I even say to him, is there a Bible verse about this, God?
That's the reference to this.
And then, sometimes I'll have one.
Yeah.
But I think it's a privilege.
Yeah.
It's something
That's
that
great.
I know is important
Mm-hmm.
and precious. I think it's precious. And
Yeah.
if I can speak words of God into anybody's life, then I will. I will
What
do
a
it.
gift.
I'll get past me feeling anxious and scared, and I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
That's brilliant, right? So, what do you love the most about church?
I love the worship, and I love the people.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love worship too.
I appreciate people. Over the time that I've been at Arise,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Calvary, and Arise, there's been a lot of changes,
Yeah.
and our core friends have left, and we've been on our own, Steve and I. But I don't want to go anywhere else. When we analyse it, Steve's, we don't want to go anywhere else. But then there's always other people, isn't there, that come round, and
Of course.
you make friends with.
Yeah.
So, and they're precious.
Yeah, you work at church and are involved in church life across many different teams. So, how important is it to you to be like so involved or just present all the time or regularly? Like, how important is that for you, and why do you think that's important to when you get into a church? Why is that important to like be involved and be around?
It's about connection with God and connection with people.
Yeah.
Like you can't connect with God or people if you're not about, can you?
Yeah.
No.
That's true.
I think you have to get a balance. You have to get the balance right.
Yeah.
And Steve and I have been through that many times where it's four nights this week like that. So you have to work it out.
Yeah.
With children, you have to work out that you're not. What are you exempling? Is it that church is hard work? And sometimes I have to say that sometimes that is what it's looked like.
Yeah. Sure.
And what they've seen, what Kate and Lucy have seen.
Yeah.
But I hope that overriding all that is that this is a place to be, because if you want to hear from God, if you want to experience Him, you've got to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good, Rach.
It's beautiful as well, like because you're still doing church with your kids and as a family.
I'm very lucky. I think I'm very lucky.
Yeah, and blessed, aren't you? Like to be able to like when you say like you're a bit of a roadie sometimes, and you get to watch. And you get to see them all like in a line or something, and those experiences is so important, isn't it, as a family?
I watch Kate sometimes and I think to myself, I think she's going to sing. She's gone quiet. Like, she's concentrating. I know she's concentrating, and then she starts. I think,
Yeah.
Oh, I love it, Rach. I'm going to be exactly the same. I'll probably shout out.
And then if Lucy's singing, I'm thinking to myself, I can hear that harmony. Lucy's very good at harmony.
Yeah, she is.
Listen to that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Sorry, I've got carried away.
No, but I know what
As
you
you
mean,
should.
because like I experience, and they, Rach, will love the fact that they get to lead you and facilitate that for you. They will love that, because I know, like, they won't mind me saying this, but my nan and my mum sometimes just walking just on the end of the countdown. So we're singing our first song, and I'll see them coming, and Nan's getting ready in a seat, and she's ready, and I love seeing everybody from the stage and going, wow, this is how great, like, it's full, we're about to worship, this is going to be great this morning. But there's something so beautiful about doing it with your family. And I often exchange, like, I look with Nan, I'm looking this way because that's the angle that she sits. But there's that moment where, and it's emotional. It really is
Yeah.
emotional when like we're singing together, and because we both love like Jesus, and
Yeah.
we're both worshiping and just in awe of
Yeah.
what we're doing in that moment. And it's so wonderful, isn't it,
Yeah.
to be doing it alongside friends and your church family, but to do that alongside your actual family,
Yeah.
it's so wonderful, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Well, I got the opportunity to worship with my mum at Lucy's
Oh,
wedding,
wow.
Lucy and Sean's wedding, because
Yeah.
she was
Oh, yeah.
sitting next to me, and there was a moment where we were singing about the faithfulness of God, and like my mum put her hand up and I put my hand up, and I
Wow.
thought,
Oh, that's
I
precious.
am worshipping with my mum.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I did
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful thing. It was lovely.
Both Lucy and Kate married.
Yeah.
Great weddings.
Great weddings.
The bakers
they do a
know
great wedding.
how to host
They do
a
know
fantastic
how to do a
party.
wedding. It's so
They're always
so
the last
true.
to leave. Rach and Steve,
are.
You
always
are.
the
We
last to
are.
leave.
That's
First
a great,
on the dance floor.
trait.
It's
a great
fantastic.
trait.
I absolutely love
Yeah,
it.
I love it.
Because we don't want to miss out on anything.
No.
No, that's true. That's true. That's why we're still there. That's why we're still there as well. The most recent wedding, though, between Lucy and Sean, great wedding, wonderful wedding, was a wonderful chance as well to bring in a family that didn't know Jesus,
Yeah.
and I got a chance to be part of the service, and it is often weird on a Sunday we have the whole room with us,
Yeah.
and it's like the new people who are a little bit tentative. At a wedding though, in that situation, like sometimes it's half and half
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
How important was it to Lucy? I reckon you probably speak on Lucy's
Yeah,
behalf, but how
yeah.
important was that to be able to almost witness her faith and the family's faith,
Yeah.
and not stray away just because you guys don't
Yes.
feel the same way as
Yeah.
us?
Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean that's Lucy and Sean's decision, isn't it?
Yeah.
To where they get married.
Mm.
I don't like Sean was okay with it. I
Yeah.
don't know if maybe it was a non-negotiable. I
Yeah.
don't really know, but
Just a given.
It was an obvious thing.
Yeah.
That was
of
where they were
course.
going to get married.
Yeah.
And I guess I was a little bit, what are they going to think about it? What's his family and his friends going to think about it? So there was a lot of prayer. Like I was doing a lot of praying, and you just don't know, do you? You just don't know. Someone had an experience in the ceremony right at the very beginning that I could see happening, and I just thought, okay, well, I wasn't expecting that, but God's obviously doing something, isn't he? So what
Yeah.
it's about, and my thought was, it's about the one sometimes, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. It is.
And that person had an experience of God that they weren't expecting.
Yeah.
I think like Sean's family, it's like nothing that they've ever experienced before.
Yeah.
I hope they liked it. That's I think I do think that they did. But yeah, it was a little bit like, how are they going to be? What are they going to think? Are we
And
gonna have-
conversations come, don't they?
What's it going to be like
Yeah.
afterwards? Are they going to say something? But people
Wasn't
didn't.
expecting that.
No,
It
no.
was a drum. There was drums.
Yeah, that's
There's
always a
there was
thing when
drums, there
my
was a-
family came.
Yeah.
It's like,
Wow.
there's a band. It's loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's
Yeah.
lively.
Actually, like Steve's family, that's what they loved that at Kate and Matt's wedding, that there was a band. The husband of my one niece is he plays guitar, and he actually asked, like when it was Lucy's wedding, is there going to be a band again?
Nice.
Really?
Yeah, there's always a band.
That's great.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
brilliant.
conversations come, don't they? And I wanted to ask you this question. Obviously, we spoke a lot about church and church life, and like how involved you are there. And obviously, you work in church, so that's what your work life looks like as well.
Yeah.
And often we talk about, don't we, like going into our own world and talking about Jesus and spreading the gospel. I know for a fact that you do that with friends, right? What does that look like in obviously church life, and your workplace is church as well?
Yeah.
What does that look like in your life, like going out into your world?
Yeah. I have got friends that aren't Christians. I think it's about not being weird.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
great answer.
It's really
Yeah.
good.
Not being weird. and being brave sometimes.
Yeah.
So if I know that someone's going through something, one of my friends, then I will be brave, and I will send them a Bible verse, or sometimes I've sent them a link to a song, and I haven't had anybody say I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Wow.
that's no, don't do that.
Yeah.
They're all often grateful. Yeah, so don't be weird and be brave.
Yeah. Do you because of those experiences, then do you find it like not easy, but like when those moments come when you get that nudge, or send that song, or say that, or say I'm just going to pray for you,
Yeah.
or do you find it like, are you confident in that because
No.
of those? No.
No, and there are some. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
And there are some people that I just don't.
Okay. Yeah.
Just don't. But that doesn't stop me being their friend. And I
Therefore,
think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
important as well,
Oh,
isn't it? It's not,
absolutely. Yeah.
it's not about I'm not going to be your friend if you're not going to like what I like. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're all different, and yeah, we just have to accept what people
Yeah.
what people think and what they say.
Yeah.
I think you are very brave.
I do too.
Like you do, like push the boundaries in, like sending that text or doing what you think God's asking you to do. So I do think you are very brave, Rach.
It's because I
Like
love
you-
Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. It all comes back to
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I
That's got to
love
be the
Jesus.
title of this
Yeah.
one.
What?
I just
love
love
Jesus.
Jesus.
I just love Jesus.
And,
Yeah.
and I know he's safe, so if he's
Yeah,
safe
yeah.
for me, he's safe for everybody else.
You
Oh,
are
yeah.
wonderfully vulnerable as well, right? Like
Yeah.
we obviously get to experience that working with you, but you are really vulnerable sometimes,
Yeah.
and like that might be
Honest.
in a safe place.
Yeah,
And
it
but
is.
vulnerability is hard, isn't it? It's hard to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah,
But you have that as well.
yeah.
You do. So do you find that that's easier to do in some situations and some environments than others?
I don't know actually. I think my friends are my friends,
Yeah.
and I would be vulnerable with them if I needed to be. If there was something going on, I
Yeah.
would, because they're my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Love it.
Yeah.
Finally, before we come to an end, we spoke about group life and and not group life, church life, and your involvement there. And just to end for people that are watching who maybe are struggling to. So when we spoke about the different things you've been through in life, and how it was almost your default or where you felt safe.
Yeah.
And also when it comes to Calvary and to Arise, there's a consistency there where you've always been present and involved. And for somebody who maybe is watching and going, I don't feel the urge, or I don't know where I need to be when it comes to church. What would you say to somebody to in order to get from A to B?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the same attitude as I had with my girls. That
Yeah.
in order to get something from God, you have to be present. You have to be present in church and make yourself available to God. And you never know. You never know. He might just speak to you. He might just move, mightn't he?
Yeah.
But unless you give him the opportunity, and sometimes that might mean you've got to be brave. So I would say, be brave. Be brave.
Wow.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Wonderful. Brill.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you so
time,
much for coming on,
Rach.
Rach. Wonderful chatting.
Yes.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yes.
don't want to ever stop. We do something with our guests, Rachel.
Tradition.
Tradition,
Tradition.
which I'm sure you are well aware of by now. We take a selfie.
We do.
With our guests.
Am I moving round?
You gonna go?
Yeah, I'll go.
You're gonna
is,
go.
is my chair okay?
Yeah,
for you?
you guests don't have to move a muscle.
Yes.
Don't you move a muscle. Let me move my drink there.
Can I put this down?
You can do if you'd like to. I'm gonna. Oh, hello. Good angle. Good angle. Didn't know. I thought you were gonna go there. So now you've gone there. You filled the gap.
Where am I looking?
Green dot. You see the green dot there?
Yeah.
And the green dot. Wonderful. We'll send those to you to You can pick your favourite.
Thank you.
Brill, thank you so much for coming on, Rach. We hope you've enjoyed yourself.
Yeah.
Being able to chat.
Yeah,
Telling
it's
us your
been a nice
story.
chat.
You enjoyed it.
Yeah.
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 You come on again. Right.
I mean, I might change my mind when I listen to it
Okay.
and hear my lovely accent. Oh, I do sound common, don't I?
Person.
No one likes listening
Albury.
to themselves
Albury,
back,
yeah.
do they?
My dad's from Albury.
I didn't know the
I
Albury
didn't, I
thing.
didn't know that about
He was,
you, Rach.
he was brought up. I think he lived in the same road for
No.
a while as my auntie.
No. What a tiny world. What a tiny world. Is it the
That's not that unusual.
the last two pod? What are you laughing? Sorry,
It's
you're
not
laughing.
that unusual.
It's a tiny world. The last two podcasts now, we spent, Rach, 9 episodes being surrounded by Nethertonians.
Yes.
Oh, that is
Yes.
true.
It was too much at times.
Yeah, big
I
up.
was surrounded.
Surrounded.
Last podcast, Joe was from Gornal,
Gornal. Yeah.
also from there. This podcast,
Albury.
like a
Albury.
crowbar in an Albury link.
Albury and Purton.
I know Albury.
And Purton.
Do you know Albury?
And Purton.
Not loads.
Purton. Purton's a great
Purton's
place.
lovely.
It's a lovely place to
It's
visit.
fancy, isn't it?
Got a lovely,
Fancy.
like,
It is fancy.
Big road. It is fancy. Yeah.
is.
What I love
It's
about Purton,
fancy.
I don't know how we've got it here, but the Sainsbury's is fantastic in Purton.
Is it? I've never been.
There is a Sainsbury's and a
Wonderful.
little lake.
And a little lake, yeah.
It's got a
There
lake.
is a lovely
You're
walk.
right, it is fancy.
Not a
There is a
canal.
nice walk,
It's not
yeah.
a canal. It's a
There is
lake.
a nice,
It's a lake.
and there's 2 ways you can get from church to Purton. There's one where there's a what's it
Oh,
called,
a
a ford,
ford.
Oh gosh,
and in
that's
the
a
rain,
risk.
in
It's
the
a
rain,
risk.
oh,
You don't go
scary.
when it's been raining.
No, that's silly.
You don't go through when
Often, if I've ever been back in the day when I was around your house quite a lot, it was like my dad would say, "Don't go the Ford way. Don't go
Don't
the
go
Ford
down the
way.
I had to
Don't go the
reverse the
Ford."
other day. I had to reverse.
Oh,
and then-
you were
and
on
it-
the said Ford,
I was actually on the
Really?
Ford.
Where?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And I had to reverse.
Purton Ford.
Yeah.
Many
So I had to
cars
find
get
another
stuck
way.
Get stuck.
every year. There's a sign that says that.
Yeah, it was struggling. There was one in front
They
of
do
me.
warn you.
Every year.
They do warn
Yeah, they
you.
do.
They do. So stay away from the Purton Ford.
It's Trescott Ford.
It's okay in the
called
summer.
Trescott Ford.
If you ever get invited round for tea to sing the song in Grace,
Or a party.
when you're going, don't go near the
Don't
Ford.
go near the Ford. And
Don't
I've
go
heard
near
there's
the
going to be a
Ford.
summer party
Yeah,
at
that?
Rachel's house.
real life show like party.
It's just what I've heard.
we'll see.
We're just crowbarring away to go into the bank.
I'll have
isn't
to
it?
chat with Steve.
Yeah, we'll chat to
Steve the
Steve.
introvert.
Our people will talk to your people.
Yes.
Your
Yeah.
people can talk to our
Exactly.
people. And then we'll let you know. Okay. Thank you for joining us, Rach, though. It's been
Yeah,
fantastic. Thank you to Andrea, as always,
Thank
for
you.
hosting us at the Backyard Cafe. Thank you
Lovely
to
here.
Emily behind the camera,
Yay,
taking
we
wonderful
love
photos
Emily.
and making
do.
sure everything's running
Everything runs
as usual.
smoothly.
You can
you,
find us on YouTube on the first Monday of every single month. Also, you can find us on Spotify, where you can watch us. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible.
Audible.
So
You can
many
say,
options.
Alexa, play the real life show, and it should go.
You know, you
playing.
just set everybody's Alexa on.
That's why I said
true.
it. Alexa, playing real life show from Arise Church UK. Just waiting for that to happen in
Right.
someone's house. And it happened. Wonderful. Thank you for joining us once again,
Thank
and we'll see
you.
you next month.
See you.
See ya.